Alright everyone, I just wanted to do another video here before I took it all apart and start painting on it this weekend. So I just want to go over a couple things that I've gotten ready, and one of them is right here. I was talking about this on the last video with the pipes, the way they exit out right here, and your foot's going to be sitting in here. So I made this heat guard out of some aluminum, and basically that'll protect your boot then from becoming a melted mess. So nothing worse than having a melted boot when you're out snowmobiling. So I made that, and the other thing I did was bob the back of the tunnel off. So you can see my original line here. The last sled I did, I bobbed off this far, and I was going to do this one the same, but I decided to cut it a little shorter so that I could push the seat back a little bit. You know, and in this situation, an inch is everything really. And by pushing the seat slightly back that little bit, made it a little bit more comfortable for sitting on the sled. So that's my block off plate that I made. So I got that in last night. I did that. Started sanding on the tunnel to get this ready for paint. Trenton is he's a heck of a sander, and he does really good at it. So been doing a lot of sanding last night on some of the other stuff too. So I know I've talked quite a bit about these little loop deals I made, but what you don't realize is the amount of time it takes to build something so simple looking, but it's really a key in a custom project. I mean, I have hours into them couple little loops, but to cut the correct angles and to fit them right and to weld them, and I'm not a master TIG welder when it comes to aluminum. I mean, I can lay out some decent welds here and there. This was really thin tubing, really tough to weld. For me, it was tough to weld, but I got it. But it really sets a custom sled, you know, apart to itself is when somebody goes through as much time to make these custom parts on something. It just, you know, sets them apart from other sleds. And you know, you can walk down a line of restored sleds and pick out the inconsistencies of what isn't correct and what bolt they didn't put in the correct way, and you know, they didn't have their decal running down the edge of the hood line just perfect. And I did a few restores, and that's the part I didn't like about it, was everything had to be so meticulously correct for people to take note. And when you build a custom sled like this, people take note of the individual little pieces that you made. And I've built other custom vehicles and the sleds and stuff, and you stand off the side and you hear people talk about these just a little piece of, oh cool, look what he did here, you know. Instead of when you do a restore and you didn't quite get the decal on right, you hear, oh, he put his decal slightly off, or his paint line isn't correct, or you know, his key ring isn't exactly the right key ring or something. But when you build a custom sled, you hear nothing but positive of, look at all the trouble he went through to do this, or look at what he did here, or never seen this before, or you know, on and on. And that's what I like to do is when you're building a one of, and when this sled is done, it'll be a one of, you know, until other people start seeing the ideas and say, hey, that's a neat idea, and I want to use his idea, and which I'm fine with. And I've probably used other people's ideas on some of my stuff on here. And if I did, I'd like to see the person and thank them, and because I used his idea. But most off, I think I come up with my own ideas, and that's what I like, you know, a one of when it's done. And that's why a person spends a lot of time into making some little pieces just to put their little signature on it. So, but anyways, tonight I'm going to be taking the sled completely apart to start getting it ready for painting. So that's why I just wanted to go over this one more time of all the little things I've done. And it doesn't look like some things take a lot of time, and God, why do you know, do that? But there's a reason. There's a madness in it. So that's that. It'll look a lot different. I'm going to try and do some video this weekend as I'm in my different stages of painting. But anybody that's done any kind of painting understands that it's a lot of work, and once you start doing it, you don't have a lot of time in between, You know, it's stressful. And for me to paint, it's stressful. So the one last thing I did on my hood last night was I laid out all these holes on it. Some of the pictures I've gotten, and I am trying to build a clone of a particular sled. And on that sled, there was these holes, these venting holes in the hood. And I laid this all out on masking tape to drill the holes and stuff. And the reason on the masking tape, that way you can keep peeling the tape off and lay out again. In the pictures, I was trying to scale the size of the hole and the distance between the holes. And it took me a couple tries to get it to lay out right so that I had the correct amount of holes on each side of the center line of the hood and for it to look right with the pictures that I got. So, like I said, it took a few tries with the masking tape, but I finally got it. And the other thing I had to do was cut the engine hole bigger. Started measuring for those large big fin heads I'm going to put on here, and with some measurements from the center of the spark plug over to the edges and reference to quite a few other pictures, realized that all this fiberglass down in here had to be cut out. And then I cut the hood back a little bit further because these carbs have the manual choke levers on them. And ideally, I'd like to be able to start this sled with the hood on. It's a little easier just to go up to a sled, pull the chokes, pull the cord, boom, the sled's running, you know, instead of having to take the hood off, do the choke levers, start the sled, reset the chokes, put the hood back on. So my ultimate goal was to have room from here to the back of the cylinder heads to be able to just reach down enough and flip up them manual choke levers. And I don't know if you've seen them in the other videos, but I'll show you here quick what I'm talking about. Is right up here on the back of the carbs here. This one just has these manual levers. This activates your choke. So instead of having choke cables, choke levers, so I left just enough room you can get your hand between the hood and the engine here to push these levers down, start the engine, and then reach back down and either half them, you know, or whatever you got to do to keep the sled running. So that was my final fit on the hood. So pretty much done with all my fab work that I wanted to do. I just have one other thing to make, is the tank hold down. I got a hold down for the front and the back. I got them sitting on the bench. I'll have them done before I paint because I need to have them in color also. So here's maybe a better look at all the work I did down here underneath the engine to clearance out that bulkhead for the recoil and stuff here. So that's that. These are the extra rivets that I ran through into that plate. You can kind of see the doubled right here through the steering rod opening here. You can see the second plate in the background back there. So that's that. But thanks for watching. This weekend I hope to shoot some film in between coats of paint. So talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.